waste my whole Friday, Sunday.
Okay, I don't have time for that. I can't say the. I don't have time for you. All right, Mishlei 22:4. Achiv anava yiras Hashem osher v'chavod b'chaim. I was hoping Isaac would be here because I want Isaac to be here, but also because I feel like
there you go.
Oh, okay, good. Speak of the Isaac and Michelle appear.
How do we look at Zimmer the overchild is so weird?
Oh yeah, Isaac. Did we do a pasuk earlier in last year or this year that sounded like this? Achiv anava yiras Hashem osher v'chavod b'chaim.
Maybe.
All right, so let's try translating and maybe it'll come to someone. Okay.
An ankle who's humble.
So what you're thinking of is heel, right?
Heel.
A heel. So like Yaakov, right? But the it's a figurative speech. It means a consequence or as a consequence of or because of that. Like it comes from on the heels of. Okay. So Achiv anava yiras Hashem. How do you translate that?
On the heels of humility.
Humility
Is the fear of God.
Fear of Hashem, yeah. Osher v'chavod b'chaim.
Wealth and
honor,
Honor and life. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. Lots of good stuff here. All right. So you can also I always do that. Okay. So Mitzudas ציון says Inyano sof v'acharis. So he says Achiv means the ultimate consequence of. Okay. Let's just say this here. The ultimate outcome, I guess, of Al-Shem Achiv Sof HaRegel. So it's because the Achiv is the end of the foot. It's funny. I don't think of it as the end of the foot. I think of the tips of the toes as the end of the foot. I guess it depends on which direction you start from.
Front of the foot.
You see it as the back.
Oh, the back. But he's saying, okay, Sof. I see. I see. Sof. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. That is also true. Right. That is also true. Okay, so either way, it means the ultimate outcome of. Sadigon says Gemul ha'anava. I mistyped that. Ha'anava v'yiras Hashem ha'osher v'kavod v'chaim. Oh, interesting. So the reward of humility and fear of Hashem is wealth. I guess the wealth, the honor, and the life. Yeah. Okay. Targum says. Ekba d'in v'sanusa d'chalta d'Hashem utra v'yikara b'chaya. Okay, that's just a straight translation. All right. Then we've got our art scroll who says the result of humility is fear of Hashem, wealth, honor, and life. Livinach says on the heels of humility comes the fear of God, wealth, honor, and life. And the Alter says what follows humility is fear of the Lord, wealth, honor, and life. Okay, so these are similar enough that I think they'll be encompassed by our questions.
Could I ask our translation?
Yeah.
When we say on the heels of, was that like a saying? Like I feel like on the heels of it is some sort of like saying that like we say on the heels of this comes that.
Yeah.
Was that actually like a saying when?
Presumably, yeah. People had heels back then. Yeah, no, but yeah, it seems to be. Yeah. I'm just going to try to write all these in here. The result of, or a result of, or a reward of. All right, those are the three main ones, I think.
Well,
yeah.
Sadio says no reward, no?
Yeah, but I'll keep Saudi going up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about following, which doesn't imply causation?
What about following that?
If you translate Achiv as following.
Following.
Maybe on the heels of actually. Okay.
Yeah, following actually. Yeah, let's actually let's do following. Following. Yeah, this is a little unclear, isn't it? Hold on. Let's go back. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's just go like this. Okay. Achiv, humility is fear of Hashem, right? And then our meanings for Achiv are on the heels of, following. These might be the same thing. A consequence of, a reward for,
The ultimate outcome.
the ultimate outcome. The ultimate outcome of. Yeah. Okay. I think that covers it. Okay, what are the questions?
Why on the heel of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess let's just ask what does Achiv mean and how does it work, right?
Yeah.
mean? How does it work? I think that'll as opposed to writing out a question for each reading.
Yeah, would you say like well, I don't know if it's a part of number one, would you say like the heel on top of the heel is like being on top on a foundation? Like is that?
Oh, that's interesting. I think the metaphor of a heel is like what you're saying, of like just it, like it follows in the footsteps of. That's another similar thing that we say, right? Like in the footsteps of another years Hashem. Yeah.
The way I'm looking at it is like if you break the heel, like you can't walk anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that's the mushal, and I don't mean to say that in a like. I think there is a shot of Achiv, which means a result of. I don't think stability is in that shot. I think it's like in terms of the walking process. I don't know, maybe, yeah.
If I come up with an idea with that shot.
Yeah, I would question whether anyone says that, but we, takes it that way, but we could see.
Stability more thing like the ankle, like.
Isn't that the same thing?
I don't think so. I don't think this is the mushal, right?
No,
like,
I'm saying if the muscle was stability, when it's
if the mushal was right. Yeah.
More than heel.
Yeah.
Like,
Feet maybe.
Like Moshe
legs.
And Goliath. No, not Goliath. God. Moshe and Goliath.
Yeah. Not all giants are the same. Yeah.
Why Achiv? Or sorry, why humility?
Okay, yeah. What's so special about humility? Yes, I did that again. Anava.
Well, the truth is that ideas are no.
I think this is a split, by the way, of I'm going to ask this question here. I'm going to preemptively ask this. Is this a list of 4 things that follow from anava, or 3 things that follow from anava v'yiras Hashem? Anava v'yiras Hashem.
And within those 3 things, do they follow each other? Like other 6
Oh yeah, right. And are these sequential?
And is this limiting other things?
Yeah.
This is,
or why these things?
Right. Why these? Yeah. Let's ask that first. Why these 3? Is this a mutually exhaustive? Oh wow! I predicted the right one. Exhaustive list. Oh, okay.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, we're starting to know. I was saying word has starting to learn Mishlei. Develop a good intuition. Yeah. See, Isaac, this is the thing that makes me think that we've done this before. I feel like we've asked that question about Osher v'Chavod v'Chaim in some pasuk.
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay. Yeah.
We definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first part wasn't seeming familiar to me, but
okay. If you figure it out, let me know. I'm not going to Google it. Okay. What else?
Also, I have a question.
Yeah.
I guess the main question kind of is Chaim ambiguous, or does it just mean a longer life? And if so,
okay. So let's say, what do each of these 3 terms mean? And then I'll include that here, which is
also what's yours?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Hold on a second. Yeah. What? Yeah. Hold on a second. What do these terms mean? Especially Chaim, right? Which is the most ambiguous of all of them. And then what is the definition of anava in this context? And then what is not the translation, the definition of yiras Hashem in this context? Yeah, David?
Yeah, just methodology. When you have something like yiras Hashem here, do you learn the pasuk in Mishlei like as someone who's like now he's doing mitzvot, he's following after God, or you learn yiras Hashem as more like he has fear and like he recognizes something outside of him?
Well, this is always the tension, right? Is that how much do you go based on your previous knowledge of like Mishlei's definitions of these terms? And how much do you go based on like Torah? How much do you go based on the pasuk itself? So I think that's like a decision you can make.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because yiras Hashem is the thesis of Mishlei, I feel like if that's the opening pasuk of Mishlei after the introductory pasukim, then I feel like that we are definitely expected to plug in our understanding from Mishlei. But but that there's going to be a question about what that means there. Also, we may have to go back to that.
Okay.
And like, what's
Does that answer your question? I mean,
I think I'm just not fully clear on what you were saying is the answer.
I'm saying that that there's 3 approaches you can take. You could take yiras Hashem from the Torah,
Okay.
how the Torah uses yiras Hashem,
Which would include say doing mitzvot and other things.
right?
Like that.
You take it from Mishlei,
Which would be
I'm not going to say. Like we'd have to figure that out.
Okay.
Or you could take it just from whatever you piece together from this pasuk and like try to take it fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are all fruitful approaches. Yeah, Sean?
Thank you.
What's the mechanism that's getting him wealth, power, and life?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I meant by how does it work. So I'll just elaborate on that.
Specifically, I think it's more precise in terms of, is he getting these things for God? Is he getting them for other people? Like there are multiple ways in which a person can
Right.
get all these things.
Yeah. So I still think it's in this question,
Okay.
which is how does it work? Like, i.e., how do these things come about as a result? Right.
And what's the Havamina?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right. What is the Hava Amina? Right. And then you can see several directions for that, right?
Yeah, like Gaiva will lead to lack of fear of God, which will yield you
Oh, that's actually,
or
yeah.
disrespect and death.
Okay. So actually, I think that's a different, also important question, which is what is the opposite? Right.
Yeah.
Meaning if you have the opposite of another, then you're going to get the reverse of all these things, But in terms of the Havamina, what would some Havaminas be? Like, why would a person need to be told this?
Well, I mean, if you just because you have humility, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll have wealth.
Right. So there definitely you would think that humility is great and all, but it's not going to get you Osher, Kavod, and Chaim.
In fact, humility and wealth usually, usually are opposing things. Like wealth can get you more Gaiva, humility.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like
Another Havamina might be that. What was it? Yeah, it depends on how you define wealth, right?
Money.
Sajid's perspective, I don't think it's money, but yeah.
Why
Maybe
do
it's
you
just
say
Ha'osher
that?
v'Hacha, and he's talking about a specific thing.
I found the
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. What was it? Yeah.
So it's actually not the same
Yeah.
three things.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
That's your idea.
Yeah, it's
Well,
21-21.
21-20. Oh, so that was this year then.
Yeah,
That was
I knew
recently.
it definitely this year.
21-21. Rodiv tzedakah v'chesed yimtzach chaim tzedakah v'chavod. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's the one. Interesting. Okay. All right. Good. So it's not a repetition. All right. So I can conveniently ignore it, I guess. Oops. I gotta close this. Yeah. So there are several Havaminas here. Okay. Yeah.
Are Anava and Yirad Hashem mutually exclusive? Or is there Yirad Hashem without Anava?
Okay. Yeah. So let's say according to the latter, okay, which is Sadigon, that Yiras Hashem and Anava are being paired here. What is the relationship between the two in general and in this pasuk? Okay, in other words, could you have Yiras Hashem without Anava, and vice versa, and
They're
like
allowed to reap the benefits. Meaning, are they mutually exclusive? Do you need Anava to have fear of God? Like does a
Right.
one person fear God?
right? So I guess that's what I mean in general, meaning like regardless of these outcomes, right? In other words, do you need Yiras Hashem to have Anava or Anava to have Yiras Hashem?
Yeah.
And then in this pasuk, meaning in order to get this cool stuff. Yeah.
I like also there's a natural grouping of like rewards that kind of speak to, I don't know, like our animal brain, like the wealth and the honor
Yeah.
and the life, and then like the fear of God is more,
Right.
It's not
So
something traditionally think of as a reward.
This is typically Mishlei, which is appealing to you to follow, to get these things that the Torah values, but using reasons that you value. Like the Torah will say, Yiras Hashem is essential in order to serve God, right? But this would be like, no, you can get wealthy, yeah.
Who's the audience?
Yeah. Who is the audience? And this sounds like it's a general audience, but who knows? Like maybe it's specifically talking to people who want these three things, or you say everyone wants these three things.
Does anybody not want Chaim?
What was that? Well, you got covered. Yeah.
I guess it depends on how you define Chaim, but
Yeah.
it seems so.
Right. Another interesting thing, which is not a powerful question, just an observation here, is Anava and Kavod are often depicted as opposites. So it is interesting that Anava leads to kavod. Like kavod seems to be more connected to anava than osher and chaim are.
But Moshe Feinstein is a great example. You know, like he had a lot of humility.
Yeah.
At the same time, everyone
It's
respects.
famous, yeah.
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Mhm.
Yeah, but with Moshe is more tangible.
Better
I've heard
example.
stories about him. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's like my grand Rabbi.
Mhm. Yep.
What time was it? Kid?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you ask what the subject is here?
Yeah. What is the subject? Actually, let's pull a Rabbi Moskowitz move and put that here. That Rabbi Moskowitz, one of the reasons why he talks about asking what the opposite is because depending on how you frame the opposite, it'll affect how you define the subject or vice versa. Yeah.
So sure to be after what's the opposite? I'm just joking.
We could argue that. Okay, I think we can think. I also have, hold on a second. I had another way to read this. Achiv anava yiras Hashem. Can you put the word Achiv into the second half also? I guess that's my question. Achiv anava yiras Hashem. The Achiv, no. You can't say Achiv osher kavod v'chaim. Yeah.
Well, I have another question.
Yeah.
Is this like conscious? Like, can you? I don't. Is there a difference between you consciously wanting to be humble to achieve that versus, you know, like meaning like you just do it because it's just like a part of your nature.
Yeah. So let's put that into the question of what is anava? What is the definition of anava? How does one become or pursue become humble or pursue anava? Yeah. And then similarly here, how does one become Yareh Hashem? And just to what do you call? Just to keep this on our radar here, it's possible that the pasuk here is not telling you how to become humble or not telling you how to get Yiras Hashem. It might be just telling you the results, and there are other pasukim which would tell you how to get it. But so we don't have to feel like it has to answer this, but it is important for us to ask. Okay, so I feel like we kind of have to start off by defining anava and Yiras Hashem, right? Yeah.
Okay, I have a question on those combos actually.
Yeah.
Is this like would it be impossible to have the fear of God if you don't have humility? And I don't know if I think like
That's what Ellie was asking, right?
Versa.
Right. That's what you were asking, Ellie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they interdependent? Yeah. You know what? Let's make this into a separate question. It's become its own question. Yeah.
Another question is gaiva is gaiva the absence of humility, or humility is the absence of gaiva?
There's a third possibility. Yeah. Yeah. So the third possibility. So let's see, Isaac, you might know this. Right. Did you hear his question?
Yeah, he said it's guy with the absence of humility or vice versa.
Yeah. And there's a third possibility.
Yeah, that they're each a positive manifestation, and you could have someone who has neither positive manifestation.
Okay, that's interesting. That's different than I was thinking. So the way the Rambam has it is that anava is the middle path, and then gaiva is one extreme, and then shval ruach is the opposite extreme. You know, like lowliness of spirit. Yeah, or what the Torah calls anav me'od when it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu. What?
Doesn't he say that Moshe Rabbeinu was not Shvar because he made his be a leader?
Rambam doesn't say that to my knowledge, does he? I think to the contrary. Let's just check it out here.
That Moshe wasn't fully on the Shvar side.
I mean, that would make sense, but I don't recall anywhere in the Rambam where he says that. It's possible. If it is somewhere, you know where it would be. If it's somewhere, it would be in the Shmona Prakim. It wouldn't be in the Mishnah Torah. I'm pretty sure. So that's the thing, is that the no, Mafra, yes. Yes, because this is one of the two exceptions where you go all the way to the extreme. Let's just read this, not to get, I don't want to get sucked into a whole Hilchos Deos week, but just to get a framework here. So in the Rambam system, then you've got Deos, however you want to translate that, and there are two extremes and there's a middle, and he gives examples. And one of the examples he gives is he says shval ruach. Oops, shval. Yeah. So he says, v'yesh adam shehu gova lev biyoser. So there are people who are extremely haughty. V'yeshu shval ruach ad ma'od, and then there's shval ruach on the all the way on the other side. And then when he first, this is the confusing thing, because when he first gives his example, he says that when he gives examples of how you should go to the middle path, he says, "Ketzad, how should you do this? Mishias rachik migova halev ad hakatze ha'achron v'yesh shval ruach biyoser nikra chasid." So if you are someone who distances himself from haughtiness and goes all the way to the other extreme and is very lowly spirited, nikra chasid, he's called a chasid. However you want to translate that. Zohi midas chasidus. V'im nisrachik ad ha'emsa bilvad, and if he goes only to the middle, vihi anav, and then that's considered a humble person, nikra chacham. Then he's called a chacham. Zohi midas ha'chachma. Okay, so at this point, it sounds like he's saying you should go to the chachma side, or so you should go to the middle. At least from Perek Aleph, but then he gives the examples when he says that there are okay, sorry, this is the part where it sounds like he's saying you go to the middle. When he's talking about how you heal your bad deos, he says cure your bad deos. If you are very haughty, Yanik Atma Bizayon Harbe, you should behave in ways that are very degrading. The issue of Lamatam in a coal, sit in the worst spot. Yobash Bluis Chabos Mavazim Alopshehem, and wear like worn out garments that degrade their wearers. You go to Bidvarim Elu, Achi Akir Gova Halevi Meno, until you uproot haughtiness. The Axel Derech Haim Tzais, Shi Derech Hatova, until you go to the middle path, that's humility, and then that's the good path. And once you get there, then you should stay there for the rest of your life. Okay, but then he flips. There are deos that are usher for a person to behave in the middle path with. He should go to the opposite extreme. So haughtiness is one of those. It's not good for a person to be merely humble. He should be very low spirited. You should have a very, very low spirit.
What do you mean?
The opposite of haughty. Lefikach ne'emar b'Moshe Rabbeinu anav me'od v'lo ne'emar anav bilvad. That's why it says by Moshe he's very anav and not just anav. So very anav is the same as shval ruach. Okay, those are two terms. That's why Chachamim said me'od hevei shval ruach. You should be very, very low spirited. Od amru. They also said shekol hamagbi alibo kafar ve'ikar. Anyone who is haughty has denied God. Shneimar v'ram levavecha v'shachachta esed Hashem l'kecha. Your heart became haughty and you forgot Hashem your God. And this is why I don't know if the Rambam you're talking about exists. Od amru. They say b'shamta di'isbe gasas ruach avafilu miktsasa. You should be excommunicated if you have any haughtiness, even a little bit. And it's machlokas in the Gemara of do you need a little bit, like for leadership reasons, or yeah, it could be. Yeah, he writes a lot about humility.
When he says yesh deos, is he including himself in that?
Deos does not mean opinions. Deos means character traits.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we don't have to be beholden to the Rambam system. I'm just saying that to answer Ariel's question about like are anava and gaiva opposites, depends on what kind of anava you're talking about. Are you talking about like the extreme, or are you talking about like the middle? Yeah.
Just for question 6, there was definition of anava in this context. I don't know if we said this out of the text, but there being like a difference between internal anava, like thinking very lowly of yourself, versus externally just not showing. Okay,
yeah, that's a good question here. Which is, hold on just a second here.
With yours, Hashem isn't something that's like external, right?
Right, but then that might be why it is pairing them, right?
Well,
maybe you need.
If anava wasn't external, was purely external, then it wouldn't really do much to your year for shape.
But you might. Well, I don't know. You might need both of them. Yeah, let's ask.
I guess it depends if you're right. It depends on whether or not you're pairing them like side you're going or not.
Yeah. If you're pairing them side, that's what I was thinking. I should say, yeah. If this is referring, is this referring to behavior or an internal state?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between, in this specific context, is there a difference between Yiras Hashem and Avos Hashem? In terms of, what are the consequences? You just said Yiras Hashem,
Yeah.
I mean, is it
So
both, or is it
yeah.
just
So
one or the other?
I'm not going to write the question, even though it is a good question. But I don't think there's any havamina to say that this is both. And the reason
Yeah.
why is because Mishlei only talks about Yiras Hashem.
Mishlei in general.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because Shlomo wrote a whole book about Avas Hashem and that's shiurim.
Oh, so Hashem.
Going to the Rambam, then it's
Well, I guess my question is like, not that he's having both, but is there like a practical difference in how you act if you have one or the other?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You had another question?
Methodology point.
Yeah.
I'm only asking really because Sanjigo kind of does it a
Yeah.
little bit, but I guess like almost a dicta question also, but seeing as there's no vav before Osher, is that like a hint where Sanjigo is kind of splitting the pasuk?
Could be,
I
right?
mean, instead of saying that like Akev Anava is like A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
You're saying there's Akev Anava and Yiras Hashem, and then
Yeah. The only funny thing about that though is like you gotta put a vav there for Sanjigo. That's possible. So yeah.
I just did a quick Safari search on Akev in the Parsha where it also has that like Akev Tishnu, and then you get all these good things.
Yeah.
And people there were kind of mad. Like there are a lot of sheets on it. People like don't like that. Only if you do these things you get these rewards. Like is there a possibility that like these are rewards that are intended for all human beings?
So are you saying that the word Akev could mean like the only way to get these things is through?
Well, that's kind of how it seems in the Parsha.
Right. Yeah. How does the Parsha begin again? Akev. I know some things with Akev.
the next word is in my head is Ray. It's bad. Akev Ray.
Nope. Oh wait. Why did it take me here? Okay, hold on. I just want to see what it says, just in case this sheds light. Oh, no, I always click on Parsha. That's not what I want. Hold on. והיה עקב תשמונה איש המשפטים האלה ושמרתם ועשיתם אותם ושמר עד השם אלוקיך לך את הברית ואת החסד אשר נשבע לעבדך. Yeah, all right, fine. Yeah, and then it goes and says all the good stuff. Yeah.
Are we ready for an idea?
So it depends. Do you want a little bit of background on Mishlei's Yiras Hashem, or do we want to try going without it?
What do you think is best?
Yeah.
I think having a little bit of background is good because, like I said, this is like the thesis of Mishlei. So let's compromise. Let's not do mafarshim on Mishlei's Yiras Hashem. Let me just show you two pasukim, okay? And we might have talked about this earlier in the year, but it's good to review. So the two pasukim that I already got it highlighted. Yiras Hashem Reishis Da'as Chachma Umusar Evilim Bazu. Fear of Hashem is the beginning of knowledge, or Reishis might mean beginning, or it might mean the best, like Reishis
Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem.
Right. I mean that's his father, right? Yeah. Similar pasuk. What's the word I'm looking for? Reishis Tegancha, right? Like the first of your wheat or whatever, you know. So either fear of Hashem is the beginning of knowledge or it's the best of knowledge. Chachma umusar evilim bazu. Evilim, that's a Mishlei, fools for lack of a better term, despise chachma and musar, because that's the opposite. Okay. And then you have the other pasuk, and this is the one that is not well known because it's smack dab in the middle of Mishlei, like I think right in the middle. Last pasuk in Perek 15, Yiras Hashem Musar Chachma V'lifnei Kavod Anava. So to me, this is the most important one because it defines it. Fear of Hashem is the Musar Chachma. How do you define or translate Musar Chachma?
Meaning like if you're too, I guess if you're too like smart for your own good, then that could lead you to a lack of Yiras Hashem too.
Wait, I'm just saying, how do you translate the term Musar Chachma? And Chachma is an adjective here, or it's a noun, but it's like a smithus, like the Musar of Chachma is what it means. Yeah.
Maybe like get Musar from a Chachma.
Okay, yeah. So in other words, there's two types of Musar. There's Musar from Chachma, or which you're gonna get from a Chacham, or there's Musar from foolishness or from like not chachma, you know. So the musar of chachma. So musar can be translated in two ways: either discipline or rebuke. right? You're using it in the rebuke way, like getting like, rebuked. Let me just see how they say it here. Yeah, right. Yeah, this is a good parenthetical thing. Discipline of, meaning of the moral nature, meaning when you discipline yourself through your chachma, and just to contrast that, there's another pasuk in Mishlei somewhere that says musar evilim ivelas, that the musar of fools is foolishness. That you have a lot of people out there who are very disciplined, but they're subordinating themselves to foolishness. Whereas if you subordinate yourself to chachma, that is yiras Hashem. And then lifnei kavod anava, before honor is humility, which is very similar to our pasuk, that you have to have humility before you get honor. Well, definitely honor comes after humility. That wasn't our question. Our question was whether the three in the second half of the pasuk are
So when you
sequential.
said kavod anava,
Yeah.
saying yiras Hashem is coming before kavod anava.
It's interesting because the pasuk here, that's a good point. The pasuk here does not really directly relate the two, right? Like, what's the relationship between the two halves of the pasuk? It's just saying yiras Hashem is musar chachma, and then before kavod comes anava, but it's not saying how the two.
Before kavod
Yeah.
is anava. Okay.
So
right.
Just as a loose definition here, okay, you see from the fact that here yiras Hashem is being defined as musar chachma. So that's what causes a lot of the mefarshim to say that in pasuk Aleph Zion, that yiras Hashem in this pasuk is also defined as musar chachma, because it's the second half. Yiras Hashem is being acknowledged, but fools despise musar and chachma. If musar and chachma are not related to yiras Hashem, then the two halves of the pasuk have nothing to do with each other. So for our purposes, in terms of a working definition of yiras Hashem is disciplined by chachma, meaning when you are disciplining yourself based on chachma. I think that's a good Mishlei definition here. Yeah. Now you could go further than that and say it's assuming the Torah's definition of yiras Hashem, which is following mitzvos. But again, keeping it local in Mishlei, you're definitely safe with. And then you could go to Torah if you want. I'm accidentally Yosef. I forgot to take these out of my pocket yesterday. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Did he leave them at your house or something?
No, I went to Simply Sushi and got sushi. Yeah. The more if you follow Occam's razor, that would be the yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think we're ready for an idea. You have an approach?
What time? You want to go first?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wow.
I love the honor.
we've got Chaim, we've got Kavod, we've got Yiras Hashem Osher. Yeah, that's the plan.
I mean, my middle name is Chai.
Ah, that's right. Okay. All right, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I want to start by saying that I think we're specifically referring to like our interactions with people and humility.
Mhm.
So therefore, if you okay, so anava just means that you're willing to put yourself before other people.
Okay.
Right. With parameters, because you're not gonna say yes to everyone.
Yeah.
It's just not
You mean
possible.
flip that? You said put yourself before others.
Yeah,
Put
put
others
yourself-
before yourself.
Put others.
Oh, yeah.
What did I say?
You should put yourself before others.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
quoting it still,
but
sorry.
I understood you correctly, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like,
Yeah.
And then you were like, and I was like, wait.
Yeah. I think the reason why I assume is humbling yourself before others.
oh,
I think that's
right,
how
right.
it registered in my mind. Yeah.
It could be that's how I
We'll
said
treat it as that
Yeah.
way, not the other way. Yeah. We won't treat it as a
you're
Freudian. Yeah.
humbling yourself before others.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think when it comes to like God and other people, it's easier to to feel more comfortable or more accountable with other people versus God,
Yeah.
right? Because they're more
Real.
tangible.
Yeah. Right. Like it's real to you. Yeah.
So I think that if you have yiras Hashem, I think that's like the ultimate way of humbling yourself, because you're humbling yourself before someone you don't even it's not tangible. It's like a metaphysical thing you have no interaction with. It's a little crazy.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just exaggerate the point.
Yeah.
So if you say that, then walking in the steps of humility right? You're able if you do that, it's gonna naturally lead to other people, going into business with you, wanting to have a relationship with you, and that ultimately has some sort of respect that you just naturally would receive.
So are you taking the stance that humility leads to fear of Hashem, and then fear of Hashem leads to these things? Like how are you relating the 5 items in the thing? Like
so I think humility is humility is within a person.
Yeah.
And I think humility comes before fear of Hashem. Or it could come together. I'm not.
Achiv, Anava, Yiras
I'm
Hashem.
translating how we're translating, not reciting.
Right. So
I was gonna say,
just which of these is the best for you, or is there another?
So I'm still debating that in my mind, but
Okay.
But right now I'm saying on the heels of humility is fear of Hashem.
Right. So that would mean that Yiras Hashem comes after humility.
Yeah, but I'm still debating whether or not you have humility from Yiras Hashem too.
Okay. So
I'm not really.
right.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if I want to take a stance on that.
Okay.
Yet, but
Okay. Yeah.
Point on that though, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong making this connection, but the Torah only calls Moshe like underneath the autumn, like after he had Yiras Hashem.
Right.
I don't know if like specifically did that, but
Well, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you can. So
meaning to say that like you could get greater levels of anava after you have Yiras Hashem.
right. Yeah. True.
yeah, that's a good point. Maybe there are different levels.
Yeah.
Not fully. No.
Yeah, David?
So I have a read on it.
Okay.
Would be okay. So stemming from anava, then from there, I'm reading this as like I'm reading my read as like kind of like one like something that opens up a gate for the next thing, opens up the gate for the next thing. So once you have anava, and I'm learning anava, okay, I'm gonna restart again. I'll just read the pasuk.
Okay.
Okay. Stemming from internal humility is openness to Musar Chachma. From that comes Osher Kavod and Chaim.
Okay. That's good.
So the way that this works.
Yeah.
So once you view yourself as not like all this great thing, and then you are open to hearing that I've done something wrong, you're open to say constructive criticism,
Right.
or however you want to call Musar Chachma, which would then be the next step that you're Hashem.
Yeah.
That opens you up to say becoming wealthy, where you're able to like make smart. I think that leads to making smart decisions. So that would be smart business decisions. You'll have kavod from others insofar as you're someone who's doing things well and you're not acting like all for yourself and all that. And also Chaim making smart life decisions where you're not say doing something that's like a dumb thing, like not going to the doctor because I want to have like a perfect body that I never need to go to the doctor. Like, no, you're being smart about things.
Okay, good. I like that approach. Right. So then the pasuk is. So then, how would you characterize the Havamina then? I think that will help sharpen the idea.
Okay.
What's his read again?
His read is saying that you have to start off with a Nava, and then that allows you to get Yiras Hashem, which is Musar Chachma. Okay, and then from the Musar Chachma, then you get all these benefits. Osher v'chavod v'chaim. So really, the way the pasuk is advertising it, it's really saying, oh, you want Osher v'chavod v'chaim? You're going to have to get Yiras Hashem, but the only way to get Yiras Hashem is through a Nava.
And yeah, now that anava being opening yourself up to not being perfect.
Right. This recognition that I am. That's an interesting way to put it. I hear that. I took it differently, but
Okay.
yeah, that like I thought you were saying that the Nava has to be a certain like subordination to the Chachma, to the Musar of Chachma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they're exclusive.
They're not exclusive, but I think it's a different emphasis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning, because the way you're saying it is that the opposite of the pasuk is someone who, like the person who doesn't have a Nava is someone who basically says like, I don't have any blemishes or flaws, and therefore I don't need Musar Chachma.
Yes.
And the way I'm saying it is that the opposite is someone who does not want to submit to Musar Chachma. And I think that's just a slightly different audience.
So what's the difference between what he was saying and what I was saying?
Is I understood what he's saying and I didn't understand what you were saying.
Oh, why don't you just ask him to clarify?
I thought you were. I didn't realize you were trying to give a full idea. I thought you were just trying to take one step. Whereas I view this as a full idea. You want to say it again?
No,
And I can compare them?
no, I think it's pretty very similar.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this was said. I wasn't sorry, but the Osher and Kavod and Chaim are typically things out of our control, and kind of like the Yirah Hashem is accepting that it's
Okay.
in God's hands. So like the haughty person will approach and be like, I earn my honor and I earn my life.
Yeah.
That's certainly God on the wealth as well. But a person that truly fears God will, I guess, have a better balance of things that are.
Okay, so this brings up 2 points. The first one is the way you're framing it sounds like it connected to what we've been talking about in the beginning of the parak. Nivchar shem me'osher rav mikesed u'mzav chen tov. That the good name is preferable to great wealth, and good favor is preferable to silver and gold. And then, so that was talking about how a good name is entirely within your control, whereas wealth is not. And then similarly, Achiv v'rash nifgashu ozekul Hashem, the wealthy person and the pauper meet, and Hashem makes all of them. That's also talking about how these things are not in your control. And then, I don't know how it connects to Gimel necessarily, but then this is now telling you that, by the way, there is a way to get these things that are ordinarily outside of your control, but it's going to come about through working on these things of Anav and Yiras Hashem, which are in your control. So it's a good sequence. That leads me to think that's why this pasuk is here, and then maybe it's actually going to like contribute to how we understand it. The second thing this reminds me of is, it's a good thing to remember, by the way, Mishlei, Yiras Hashem shows up in Mishlei in the beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so we saw the beginning one, we saw the middle one, and then in the end, in the description of Eishes Chayil, Sheker hachein v'hevel hayofi. So grace, charisma is false, and beauty is nothingness or transient or temporary. Isha yiras Hashem hisis hala, but a woman who fears Hashem, she should be praised. So also, these are also like external things that people admire you for from the outside, or the things that are not in your control, right? Beauty, there are some people who are just born more beautiful, some people are born more ugly, and same thing with chen, depending on what kind of chen you're talking about. Some people just have a very attractive personality, and other people just don't. Okay, let's actually, unless anyone has another observation, I'd rather let.
Does it have a separate approach?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Say your separate approach. I want to let stuff percolate. I don't want to say what I'm thinking yet. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to first start by addressing the Havamina.
Mhm.
Right. So I think, and I don't think that this is necessarily in conflict with anything here. It just might be some elaboration.
Yeah.
Which is that I think that a lot of times people think that you need to have Yiras Hashem, Osher, Kavod, and Chaim to be enough. Okay.
Okay.
In order to be humble, you need to have something to be humble on. Okay. Or you need to have, if we're looking at Yiras Hashem as more in terms of chachma, you need some chachma to then be humble.
Okay.
Or you need wealth in order to be humble. So all these things are things which you need to be humble. And this is saying it's the exact opposite. You need humility in order to really acquire these things. Okay. And specifically focusing on the word Akev, right? So on the heels of, and maybe this might fit in with the discipline part of Yiras Hashem as well, which is that when you're on the heels of something, you're constantly chasing after it. That's how I'm reading on the heels, right? So like when enemies are on your heels, right? They're chasing after you, they're like constantly trying to like get close to that point. Right? So a person who is trying to be a Nava is constantly, it's not like they reach a Nava and then like they have these things. It's that they're constantly pursuing a Nava, right? And through that, then come all these things, and then they can actually actualize, right? A person who has wealth can either be a Nava or not, right? Which means that a Nava is not contingent on Osher or Kavod or any of these things, but rather that it's when you have a Nava, then you can express it through these things. So you can interact with Chachma and relate to God in a way that is anav, and you can relate to God in a way which is not anav. You can do things with your wealth which are anav, and you can do things with your wealth which are not anav. And so because all of these things are things that you can take in either direction, you need to first acquire, constantly be pursuing anava in order to then actualize it within these things, not say, I'll get these things and then I'll be humble.
Okay, that's good reading. I like that.
it's a very compatible idea to what Dove is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's very-
Right.
I don't think it's
What I like though is I like the he's making Sean is making the idea dependent on a specific idea of Akev, which
Yeah.
when you read the pasuk, it does kind of strike you that it's like it's not the most common word to use, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think I like that. All right, good. All right, I think we'll get something good tomorrow, hopefully. All right, have a good day.
I'm gonna
So,
consider
let me
that.
think of a quote,
Okay.
something along the lines of like, if
Thank you.